So I realize sometimes I have to go backwards to go forwards. And I've been talking a lot about the mini ebook that I'm writing on change and the spiral. And I've been really wanting to get so excited about focusing on spiraling up and what does that take and what does that look like and how to articulate that, that I missed a step. And I need to back up and spend some time talking about the fog because it always begins in the fog, right? Those moments of or experiences of uncertainty and change and confusion and conflict, right? And it is in that that we experience thoughts and feelings. And you always have to go back to the thoughts and feelings because that's how behavior gets created. That's how outcomes are generated. It starts with thoughts and feelings. And it does in the fog too. We experience something, we have a reaction to that inside of our head. And thoughts and feelings are those kinds of things that they feed on each other, right? It's a circular process. They keep adding to each other. And so depending on which kind of direction we start to go with those as to whether we're going to spiral down or spiral up. And what I have found is that, we talk a lot about and about wanting to change those feelings. And instead of necessarily addressing them. And if there's something that I've learned in the last 18 months, it has been that you go through the fog, not around the fog. And a lot of times that view of certain emotions being negative is not really accurate. So feelings of, fear and feeling overwhelmed and anger and grief and, those kinds of things that we want to give this negative connotation to, they're not really negative. And I've really discovered that they're difficult is what they are, is they are difficult emotions. But we need to go through them and address them. And I was having a really hard time getting this to be expressed. And I found somebody that could do that for me. Her name is Dr. Susan David, and she wrote a book aptly called Emotional Agility. And so, here's that word again. So much synchronicity going around. And she was just on Brene Brown's Dare to Lead podcast, which look that one up. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, and that's only part one. But it'll blow your mind. It was fantastic. And she talks about emotions being signposts. And that just struck me. Emotions are data, not directives. I am not the emotion. I am experiencing it. Right? And just that switch in mindset and getting curious then about what's behind that emotion and that thinking drives us to spiral up. Because if you'll notice, consider it is still kind of in the fog, right? You're not through the fog. This is the step to move through the fog, right? Is to consider why am I thinking something and why am I feeling something? And what do I need to put in place to address it? And let me back up again for just a second. When she's talking about emotions being signposts and being data, that emotions don't own us, they inform us, right? And that they bring clarity and alignment, usually around our values. And that's really important in spiraling up, is gaining that clarity and that alignment around your values so that you can bring forth your very best behavior, right? Your very best efforts, your productive behaviors. And when we experience fog and we experience emotions, especially difficult emotions, the idea isn't to avoid them or push them aside or bottle them up. It's also not to brood in them, right? It is to process through them. So I'm going to give you an example. In January, I was experiencing a lot of loneliness. And again, I am not lonely. I was experiencing a lot of loneliness. And I was fighting, trying to like, you shouldn't feel that way, right? As opposed to really addressing, why was I feeling that? Why was that experience happening? What was behind that? What was my thinking behind that, right? And why? What drives that? And then what did I need to put in place? And when I got there, right, when I got to that place, what do I need to put in place? Was that I needed to gain emotional energy in order to work through the isolation, right? I couldn't just be positive and think different. I had to go through the fog, not around it. And so what I'd like for you to do is to back up, to go forward, and think about when you experience fog and those thoughts and feelings arise, is take that moment, because you have time, right? There's that moment between stimulus and reaction, right? And in there, take that time to consider, why am I feeling this? Why am I thinking this? And what do I need to put in place to move through it? Because that curiosity and that self-compassion is going to move you this direction. So that's my charge this week. Boy, I hope that made sense. Have a fantastic week. Peace.